you guys.
Where it has a tag on every piece of clothing, and customers look for that tag on every piece.
We might do that, or it might be just like we use it internally, so that we know it's good, and then we put Patagonia tag on it. You know what I mean?
Because Patagonia builds on that level of.
Right. Either way. But I think that's something I've seen in all industries is this third-party certification, verification, somebody that's independent saying, look, this really is what they're saying it is, because everybody wants to say their product is green.
Yeah, hopefully that'll go a long way towards reducing greenwashing that it seems like we're seeing, which it's interesting to me because it's a sign of maybe a healthy marketplace in some sense that people view this as a place to be going, but also we want the right information to be getting out to people to make the right decisions. I guess I want to turn around to Travis now to talk a little bit more from the finance and investing perspective. How does that affect the way you view green materials? It's sort of a unique perspective from the people on this panel, so I thought you might like to talk to that.
Finance is tough right now. A lot of the companies that we would have looked at a year ago and perhaps invested in wouldn't be candidates today because there isn't any credit available. And how do you build plants, or how do you roll out, how do you scale operations if you can't get credit to finance those? As an equity investor, which we do, we want to have what we call efficient business models, meaning we invest equity and that equity can go a long ways. And so obviously that's changed a lot given the whole change in what's gone on in the financial market. So it's important for us to find business models that can really scale efficiently on a limited amount of capital. One of the things that's a big challenge in all of clean tech, as opposed to information technology or new media, is you can't put $1 million into a company, build a website, spend a lot of marketing, drive traffic, and you've created a lot of value. I mean, these businesses are real bricks and mortar businesses. They require build out, and they require operations expertise, and so it's different. It's in some ways it's more like a biotechnology company that requires $500 million of capital to get it from concept to commercialization. It's probably somewhere in between. And so, and for us, we like to invest early on. We get hands-on with management. We take a board seat. We, try and shape the business strategy, the go-to-market strategy, and in return for investing very risky capital, and we don't have endless amounts of capital. So it's tricky. You have to find business models that really make sense, and it's a tough time right now.
Great. John, I wanted to turn around to you and ask, you mentioned shades of green, this idea that I know is big here at Living Green, that there's all different levels and not everything has to be maybe the FSC, fair trade, shade grown, organic, certified, low flow, low VOC. Did I miss any? Materials, and I wonder if you go into that a little bit with your own product, and even as far as how you make decisions about the company or maybe your manufacturing process, how that's affected the way you do business.
Sure. Well, the question just becomes, what is green? And to different people, it has a different meaning. I mentioned this in our earlier email discussions. For some people, climate change is everything. And the example I used was nuclear power plants from a climate change perspective are a great way to get power. But there's this little thing called nuclear waste that kind of balances that out. We try to do as best we can in developing our materials. I don't think I could say that our materials are by ourselves going to save the world, but hopefully they open people's eyes, like I said, to the possibilities of green materials. We're waiting out the process of seeing which certifications are actually going to be the certifications that are the ones that matter to consumers and to our markets because of the expense of certification. To pay for someone to go and do a life cycle analysis on your product, for a small company, a smaller company like myself or ourselves, it can be a major expense. So I'm trying to take a bit of a wait and see approach to see who shows themselves into the market as the real validator of products, and then that's where we're, especially when the market begins to demand it, which it's now beginning to. We're now asking, we're seeing people ask for, do you have Green Seal or SCS or any one of these variety of certification systems. But then also, again, it goes back to you have to certify the certifiers, because in the example of wood, there's FSC which is the Forest Stewardship Council, which was for quite a while the preeminent certification system for wood. It's a nonprofit. By most accounts, They seem to run a pretty clean operation. You can believe if a product has FSC on it, it's FSC certified wood. The wood industry didn't like that too much, so they bankrolled SFI, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, which is another forestry certification program. People argue that it's less stringent. I'm not in the wood business per se, so I don't want to jump in on one side or the other, but I've seen satellite photos that you can't really tell much of a difference between clear cutting and SFI. So I ask each of you to do your own research on that subject, but the National Association of Home Builders has selected SFI as their good enough certification for the wood in their homes. Well, SFI also has a lot of money to go out and spread the word. Many more people have now heard of SFI. They take out full-page ads in the New York Times, whereas FSC is a nonprofit, has a more limited budget. If SFI then becomes the standard, is that as green as it could be? So in this time where green certification systems are still being born and still maturing, it's still up to the consumer to make sure they research themselves who's behind what certification, whether it's the appropriate certification for that particular application, and then apply it for themselves as part of their purchasing and selection process.
Do they have FSC certified sorghum yet?
I get asked that quite a bit. No. FSC is now addressing bamboo, and they are beginning to address other agricultural fibers in their certifications, and we are in the process of applying and being certified.
Do you guys have any comments on new trends you're seeing emerging in materials? Whether it might be are people focusing more on maybe the design aspect, or is it a health, indoor air quality, is it energy efficiency? Are people concerned about their bills? Maybe some things you're seeing out there in the marketplace.
One of the things we're seeing is a shift away from pure, sort of we call it embodied energy solutions or recycled content to materials that address the beginning of life and then also the total life cycle of a building. So if a building is consuming energy over its 50-year life cycle, 20% of that energy goes into building the structure, 70% goes into operating it, 10% into the demolition or deconstruction process. We're looking at companies that now not just offer recycled content or lower embodied energy on the front end, but they need to somehow address that operating efficiency during the life cycle of the building. So better R values, better thermal properties, something that helps in that area.
And for me, we're seeing definitely price. I happen to sell a suite of, generally speaking, boutique materials. The market for boutique materials is shrinking just a bit. And so we're exploring ways to bring our materials to market, achieve the same look and the same environmental value at a lower price.